Okay, same as already in my comparison between the Honor 8 versus the Huawei Nova. I will make this video also a little bit off the cuff, didn't really prepare too much, will speak just out of my head, but I will give you kind of just an answer as I would give to any person or maybe in a comment if I would talk face to face to him. So you won't really see any side-by-side comparison since I don't have either of these devices in hand, but don't worry, you will get all the information. So today, Huawei P9 Lite versus Huawei Nova. And of course, this comparison doesn't seem to make so much sense, especially due to the price difference here in Europe especially. But I have seen countries where the Nova is considerably cheaper and then they get way closer. If I would just say, and let me just get this out of the way, if it is around 400 here in Europe, let's say 380, and you can sometimes get the P9 Lite for 270 and sometimes even on a deal for 220, I would say go for the Huawei P9 Lite. If you can live with the compromises, and I will just link you back to that, check my revisited review. I've talked about that because you don't really seem to have a few things like a gyroscope and maybe the glass is not as high quality. And so there are a few minor and no USB on the go, which I'm not quite sure if the Nova actually has. So keep those in mind. But if we are considering both to be priced at around 300, so closer to each other, things look a little bit different. So let's get through everything else and I will maybe say a few more things at the end. So, design. I will just give the clear win here to the Huawei Nova. It feels amazingly premium, solid, round, and with the best in-hand feel on a premium device that I've ever had. But I also have to say I really like what they did on the P9 Lite because it feels very round and small. Of course, it's noticeably bulkier, which is just compared to the Nova bulkier. Feels great. It does maybe have the same kind of high quality glass and so on. So of course it loses, but for the price that you usually pay for, so like around 250, it still is a great feeling phone in terms of design. Now, display. You might think, I've said in my Honor comparison that the screen is so similar that of course the Nova has to win, but I would actually say not quite, because what I also said in my comparison or in my video with the P9 Lite, that the P9 Lite already is for me kind of a flagship display, and those are also so close to each other that I would almost give it a tie, because I like the Nova or the display, but also the P9 Lite, and both are great. And I would really need to have all three devices side by side, so the Nova, the Honor 8 and the P9 Lite, to actually be able to tell which one is better. But just from what I have still in mind from my experience, they are all three absolutely great and could be used on a flagship if people don't really brag too much about the QHD resolution, since 1080p is absolutely fine. So I won't really choose a winner here. I like them both so much that I can't really prefer one. Okay, if you want a better feeling display with the glass, which is not really a display thing, then the Nova. Speaker, I will give the win here to the P9 Lite because it's very, very similar to the Honor 8 and also to the Huawei P9. So quite loud and quite rich, just a little bit more body to it compared to the Huawei Nova, and the sound was very, very similar in terms of the headphone jack quality. Performance, it's similar what I said already in the Honor 8, because sometimes it can be smoother just in terms of perception of the frame rate, but it's I would say very, very close on par, because the P9 sometimes stutters, which the Nova maybe doesn't, but after the Nova just doesn't maybe always feel that smooth. So it really comes down to, if you want the kind of more smooth feeling phone, then it is the Huawei P9 Lite. But if you want the more consistent smoothness that is maybe not on a high level as on the P9 Lite, go for the Nova. I would say it's so close, and I would actually have to use both side by side for a while. I like them both a lot. I think maybe since a few lags sometimes here and there don't bother me that much these days, I would actually prefer maybe the Huawei P9 Lite in terms of performance. For games, I would say the Nova did a little bit better, because the 625 was surprisingly well performing in games. Battery life, Nova wins, since it offers around an hour more. And yes, the P9 Lite already has a great battery life, but, or let's say, you know, it still has, I call that great, but it's almost insane. Really, not quite insane, but really, really great on the Huawei Nova. But both are good. Of course, the Nova has one advantage after all, even though it still hasn't for a quick charge, it charges faster, like for about 1 hour or so. I think it needed like 2 hours, where the P9 Lite, in my experience, needed 3. I've seen people that told me that they get it to charge theirs in an hour and a half. I don't get how, because it's not actually supporting officially quick charge as far as I know. So that's where I want to leave it. In terms of software, these are closer like on the Nova, on the Honor, because both EMUI 4.1, maybe one has one little feature more than the other, but it's not enough to break the device or anything else. In terms of software updates, I would expect the slightly new device and the slightly maybe higher end device to get the fast updates, so the Nova here. In terms of camera, I give the overall win definitely to the Nova, because it actually surprised me how well it did compare in terms of stills, but it has the way better video camera. The P9 Lite still a legit camera if you just want it for stills, but it's one of the Huawei still that has quite a, let's say, video camera, which I don't say on the Nova. So yeah, the win. Now let's get to the inclusion and try to make this a point without actually deciding, because it's a hard time. If I see the prices here in Germany, I would still say if you can live with the few compromises or the slightly lesser things like the build quality not being completely metal, not in premium, and maybe not the best camera and so on, the P9 Lite still offers so much, and I've gotten so much responses, positive ones, which I'm really happy, and I appreciate those people telling me that they bought the P9 Lite due to my recommendation and they are super happy with it. And I personally am happy to see that what I said is right, because I personally always felt like this is a great phone for the price. And I think still this is, and the people actually said the same. Now the Nova, especially here being a lot more expensive, I don't think we'll get the same kind of feedback, because you after all pay noticeably more. If you are though in a country where both are so close, because I've seen even people getting the Nova Plus for $300, which is absolutely impossible here, then things could be a little bit different. But because the closer they both get, the more I would maybe tend towards the Nova, just because of the in-hand feel and the slight little things like maybe the speaker or something like that isn't really enough. But you get after all on the Nova equally, if not slightly better display, the way better in-hand feel. The speaker maybe not quite so much, but it's not worse enough that it would make the difference. The battery life is even better, the software is the same, and you get the better camera. So in overall, it is the better phone. I think the P9 Lite though offers a little bit of a better value if it's priced lower, especially here in Germany. If it's priced more at the same kind of thing, I think the Nova does better, and I don't want to drag it any further. I hope this helped you, and this is what I have to say. I hope you liked the video. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, leave any comments and questions down below, and I wish you a nice day. Until next time, bye.